Is it working? Go ahead and open this meeting for the Oceanside City Council, Harbor District CDC, on August 19th, 2015. Roll call, please.
Mayor Wood?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lowry?
Here.
Councilmember Feller?
Here.
Councilmember Kern?
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Go ahead.
Thank you. The council meeting in closed session to discuss item 2A on the agenda, conference with real estate negotiator involving the Jolly Roger restaurant. Negotiating parties are the Small Craft Harbor District and Aloha Partners LP. Negotiator for the city, Doug Edow and Paul Lawrence. Under negotiation are price and terms for the lease of the property. Item 3A is conference with legal counsel on existing litigation in the matter of Garcia Bautista versus Cramp in the city of Oceanside, case number 37-2014-3411. And item 4 on the agenda, public employee appointment in the matter of the city manager. There'll be no meeting on item 1.
Thank you. We'll adjourn the closed session. Mr. Kirk, are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mayor Wood?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lowry?
Here.
Councilmember Feller?
Here.
Councilmember Kern?
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Here. Council, consent calendar, please.
Yes, consent calendar items 5 through 17.
Anybody pulling any of these?
Move approval.
Yes, I'd like to pull item number 9.
9?
11 and 13.
Pardon?
11 and 13.
Okay, 11, 13.
Do we have a motion for the remainder of the balance?
Yes.
Yeah. Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
Sorry. Motion approved, 5-0.
9?
Yes, item number 9 is approval of Amendment 1 in the amount of $38,880 to the professional services agreement with Enterprise Technology Services, LLC, for annual support for Oracle JD Enterprise 1 and enhancements to the property module for the harbor. Approval of a budget appropriation in the amount of $38,880 from the Harbor Unrestricted Fund account to the Harbor Administration account, and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment.
Esther,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item has been on the agenda for the Harbor and Beaches Advisory Committee. This is part of the process that is being done by the entire city, all the departments, to go onto one program called Oracle JD Enterprise 1. And it has been a difficult road for the harbor because it is a marina and there are marina programs out there, but they do not communicate well with the rest of the city. So I understand, Mr. Lawrence, as the manager, the harbor manager, that you are working to make sure that all the remaining bugs are going to be fixed with respect to the specific marina uses. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. We are.
Okay. I understand the bugs are still not fixed, that the JD, what is it called? JD Edwards, that's right. JD Edwards is still working on trying to do that and will not get paid until this is actually ready, up and ready completely. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And the additional work is on a time and materials basis with clear objectives and timeframes.
Okay. And the work up to now has been paid by the finance department, and this is the first monies that are going to be coming out of the Harbor and Beaches Fund, Enterprise Fund.
Yes.
Right. So I also understand, Mr. Lawrence, that you are going to be doing a presentation before the Harbor and Beaches Advisory Committee?
Yes, we will put that together and provide that.
Okay. Well, based on those and understanding that this is hopefully going to get into a position where we're not going to be losing any revenue, reports are not going to be, it's not going to take longer to write the reports from staff. I'm going to go ahead and move approval, but I really hope that we can get this really going for the marina and, you know, make sure that it's for visitors, for employees, as well as for enforcement purposes. Is that right?
Yes, we'll do our very best.
Thank you.
I'll second. Second. Comments? Mr. Feller.
Thank you. Who installs this?
This was part of Mario Alvarado and the Enterprise Solutions. It's the same consultant that's worked throughout the city, is my understanding, on this same J.D. Edwards system.
Okay, and when we have these types of installations, do they fall under prevailing wage, or is it something that we pay just a contract amount, or?
It's a contracted hourly amount for the work performed, and I believe it exceeds the minimum required prevailing wage.
Okay, thank you.
Please vote.
Ms. Sanchez, would you please vote? Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 11.
Yes, item number 11 is City Council approval of plans and specifications for the Lake Boulevard Waterline Replacement Project and authorization for the city engineer to call for bids.
Hey, Jack, please.
It's a very simple question. Does this fall under prevailing wage, or this is our money, right?
That is correct.
State money, so
It's our money.
we get the lowest bidder,
We will issue a contract to the lowest bidder.
lowest responsible bidder.
That's correct. Yeah, it will be prevailing wage, though.
Yes.
Okay. It will be.
Yes, it will be.
I thought it would not have to be.
That was under the old guidelines, and I think things have changed, and I'll let John talk about that with respect to the contract.
Right, we're bidding all of our public works projects as prevailing wage projects in light of the SB 7 and the other bills that would eliminate all funding for local agencies who do not do that.
I thought if it came from state, it still, or maybe you could explain that further.
Yeah, I had a memo on this to the council at the end of last year, but I'd be happy to retribute that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No questions? Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Number 13, please.
Yes, number 13 is approval to accept $227,115 in grant funds from the California Office of Traffic Safety awarded to the city for the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program 2015 to 2016. Approval of the grant budget, approval to appropriate these funds to the police department, and authorization for the city manager or designee to execute the grant documents.
Okay, Mr. Feller?
Thank you. Captain, this is grant money coming from the state for traffic safety. Is it our selected, did we apply for selected uses of this money? Or are we free to use it for our traffic safety?
Councilmember Feller, we did apply for this grant, and it's for specific items that have already been identified and approved by the Office of Traffic Safety.
Okay. I was just concerned, we really have a situation going on Vista Way, and whether it's enforcement or whatever it is, we have to start figuring out something for that group of people down there. And that's the only reason I pulled this, so I move approval.
No further questions, I see. Go ahead, vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you, Captain. You have a chance. Item 18, please.
Yes, item number 18 is approval of disposition and development agreement with Pelican Brooks Street Oceanside LLC, a California limited liability company, for the development and construction of a public parking structure in a commercial residential project on parking lot 23, located in the 300 block of North Cleveland Street. Authorization for the mayor to execute the agreement, a grant deed conveying a portion of the property, and a grant easement over the property for parking, and authorization for staff to open escrow and consummate the agreement.
Could you change the program? What is it called? It's still on the voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyhow, Doug?
What is this called?
How are you doing?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, good afternoon. Doug et al., Real Estate Manager, City of Oceanside. Staff recommends approval of this item, the DDA Disposition and Development Agreement between Pelican and the City provides for the development of Lot 23, which is currently a 181 public surface parking lot that does not charge for parking in that lot. The development will consist of a parking structure, 435 spaces, 10,000 square feet of commercial, as well as 38 to 54 residential units. The parking structure, the 435 space parking structure, 80 spaces is going to be set aside for the residential development component, with the balance being available for public parking. Of the remaining 355 spaces, 181 is to offset the loss of the surface parking that's currently there on the lot, so there will be an additional 174 public spaces in that lot. The structure is, I believe, 5 stories above ground, 1 story below ground. The below ground portion is for the residential component. Pelican is currently in the process of preparing a development application, which was done pursuant to a previously approved professional services agreement. Pelican has conducted significant public outreach with the stakeholders in the downtown area and has received favorable feedback for their proposed development. The Lot 23 was originally acquired through the former redevelopment agency for development downtown, including the construction of a parking structure, which was approved by a previous council. Lot 23 development or the parking structure will be funded from various sources. It's about a $10 million total project, of which $6 million comes from previous or prior redevelopment bond proceeds. Another 2.5 is funded by Transnet dollars, and $1.5 million is coming from Pelican Development for the acquisition of an easement for their 80 parking spaces in the structure. The gentleman here, Mr. Dick Ham of Pelican, is here if you want to go over any more details regarding the parking structure. The parking structure Development application process should be completed in November and go before the commission. It is hopeful that he start of construction in the first quarter of 2016. There's probably a 12-month time frame to construct the parking structure with an additional 12 to 18 months to construct the residential/commercial component. So if there's any question, I'll be more than happy to answer it, or if you need to have Dick Ham present his concept, I will turn it over to him. Let me know.
Right now, please have a seat at sidebar. Could you introduce the two gentlemen back here? The two gentlemen here from the company.
Yes. This is Mr. Dick Ham of Pelican Development.
Thank you. You maybe get called up by public on this or anything?
No public.
Thank you. Back to the council and Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really excited about this project, especially with what is happening. This couldn't come, well, I guess it could have, like a couple years ago, but we are definitely in need of parking. Thank you very much for splitting the project in two so that you could go move the parking structure first to be able to address our needs. A year is a long time, and I'm sure that we're going to be working with our downtown merchants to make it as easy as possible to get around downtown. I really like your project. I really do. The courtyard, I know later on you'll be coming forward with this phase 2, which is your residential and mixed use, but which will be basically the front part of it, right? So I'm really excited about your bicycle cafe and some other really cool things, including a public arts piece that you're going to be working with our Arts Commission on. So I wholeheartedly move approval, and I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you.
I'll second. And then I just have one question. The timing of am I next?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. The timing of the opening of the parking structure, and will that open even though you might be under construction on the residential units, or do we have to wait till everything is done before it's open?
There'll be an overlap. We have to get the project on the outside constructed to the point where we can take down the scaffolding so it's safe for cars to drive in. But once we get that scaffolding down on the outside, then we'll be able to figure out a way to get the public in there before the whole site is completed.
Okay.
So we'll work with your building department as it's being built to figure out how we could set it up that way.
Okay. I just, the timing of it, because there is obviously a need for parking
there's the time it takes to build the structure, and then we've got probably at least another 6 months after that to get to the point where we can start bringing down that scaffolding and start figuring out a way to get people in there to use it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Filler, Mr. Filler.
That would have been my guess. You couldn't probably do that between, at least for 6 or 8 months after you've actually constructed the garage.
It basically will cut off probably the last 4 months of construction of the surrounding structure, the mixed-use structure.
Right.
So that last 4 months, there's probably an opportunity to get in there and do something. But the time period before that, which is probably like you're talking about, the 9 months before that or so, 6 to 9 months, that's going to be rather tough to get in there just from a public safety standpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I have a question for our staff. If somebody could explain the parking on the other 2 lots, the 18 and 19, for the tribe's 2 blocks there. How much of that space will be public parking? I'm just adding up what we've got. We've gained back with this structure the total loss as far as the existing lot and probably at least one of those lots, completed lots. So can you give me an idea for those 2 lots?
Honorable Mayor, council members, Scott Smith, city engineer. Councilmember Feller, those two lots will be private development. That will not be public parking.
No public parking in there?
18 and 19 is private development.
Well, I thought there was plans on the what do you call it? Mixed use. With the mixed use, there was a requirement that some of that be public for the projects themselves.
I'm going to have Jeff Hunt, the city planner, discuss the details on that.
Mayor and council members, as I recall, going off the top of my head, it is private parking, but it's available to the public if they want to use it for that facility. So, for instance, there'll be a restaurant there. Somebody could park there and go to the restaurant, as I recall.
Right. I guess I worded it wrong. I'm for the public to park and use what is on site in those two locations in the mixed-use projects. There will be a certain amount of parking. Do we know how much that is?
We can get that to you. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay, I think we're getting back to just about even as we work through the parking down there. So, and I think this is one more with that much construction going on for so long that we can't rush into this parklet thing for sure. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. And
I'll move adoption. Or no, there was no motion.
I seconded.
Yeah, there was a motion.
yeah. Thank you. And
You can have the second if you want.
with that, please vote. And if we may, I notice we've lost our TV coverage on our screens.
Motion approved 5-0. I'll work on that.
Come on. No. Thank you. Pardon? Yeah, I thought I did. I'm the only one that didn't have it. These new systems are smarter than I am. Thank you very much. And you get a time, item 19, please.
Yeah, item number 19 is authorization for staff to submit the airport layout plan as attached to the staff report to the Federal Aviation Administration and the California Department of Transportation, Division of Aeronautics, for their approval as part of new master plan for the Bob Maxwell Memorial Airfield. Authorization for staff to apply for grants from the Federal Aviation Administration and the California Department of Transportation, Division of Aeronautics, to prepare the environmental documents for the new master plan, and authorization for the city manager to execute all applicable documents.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Doug. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, or should I say good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Doug Edow, Real Estate Manager, City of Oceanside. Staff is recommending approval of this item. I would like to reiterate, this is not approval of the master plan itself. It's an approval to submit formally to the FAA the airport layout plan portion of the master plan, as well as submitting it to the California Department of Transportation, Division of Aeronautics. 2009, the city entered into a long-term lease agreement with Airport Property Ventures for the development and improvement of the airport. Since that time, staff has been acquiring or obtaining grants from the FAA for development and improvements to the airport. FAA informed the city that in order to proceed, that the city would need to perform or prepare a new master plan, since the last one was done in 1994. A master plan is a document that deals with the type, extent, and development that's associated in moving the airport forward. Part of the airport master plan is, there's a couple components. One is a conceptual plan, similar to what you would do for any planning activity in the city. The other one is a more technical component, which is the airport layout plan. The airport layout plan addresses, like I said, more technical aspects, including airside improvements, which deal with taxiways and runways and safety zones, as well as addressing landside improvements, which are additional hangars and a new terminal building and things of that nature. The airport layout plan shows a total development for the airport. It's based on another item that the FAA has to approve, and that's an airport forecast, which was completed in 2013 and approved by the FAA. The airport forecast needs to be reasonable so that the development plan follows something that is probably feasible and attainable. I have our airport consultant, Mr. Andrew Scanlon of AECOM. He'll present a brief presentation on the ALP/master plan process. But as part of this master plan process, including the development of the ALP, the city conducted an extensive public outreach. They formed a technical advisory committee that met several times, as well as conducting 9 public meetings where the public as well as stakeholders were invited to present their feedback. Some of that feedback has been incorporated into the master plan, which in turn is reflected in the airport layout plan. The FAA has indicated that the airport master plan needs to be approved by them in order for the city to proceed with the master plan, so that we can then go ahead and get environmental documents to satisfy CEQA and NEPA requirements. At that point in time, the master plan can be finalized and then brought back before the city council for their approval. And again, I stress that we need to get the master plan approved by the FAA in order to get future funding for the airport, including funding necessary for the environmental documents. But at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Andrew Scanlon of AECOM to give you a rundown of the ALP/master plan process. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Wood, members of council, and thank you, Doug, for the introduction. Most of this information you've seen before, so I will try to keep this fairly brief. What the purpose of the master plan is, I pulled some excerpts out of one of the FAA advisory circulars. Basically, it's a planning tool to help define how to develop the airport as demand for the airport grows. So it can be likened to a roadmap for the airport. This is a planning study. It's a sequential process in nature, starting with collecting an inventory of information, preparing the forecast that Doug mentioned, determining what the needs of the facility are, providing or developing alternatives on how to meet the demand, and then refining those alternatives through an iterative process, and ultimately coming down to one alternative. From that point, we developed a capital improvement plan and identifying potential funding sources, and we've moved into a draft final report, which is where we're at in the project, and that's represented by the DFR box on the far right of the slide. From here, we need approvals from the FAA, we need the NEPA and CEQA documentation, and then once all that's completed, to be presented in front of City Council for adoption of the master plan. There are 2 phases really to the project. One is the numbers phase, and the second phase is where we start putting concepts on the paper. It's more of a visioning type of exercise on how you can accommodate the demand. A number of items were incorporated or considered as part of this master plan study. I'm not going to read the list to you, but very important to the FAA as the primary funding source for this project is meeting their design standards. So a lot of emphasis is placed on meeting the design standards. A high-level review of the airport. There's a single runway. It's about 2,700 feet long, 75 feet wide. It has runway edge lighting, runway and identifier lights, and GPS approaches to the airport. All those are tools or aids to pilots to help navigate to the airport in periods of lower visibility. All the development is on the south side of the airport right now. There's a full parallel taxiway. That's where the hangars are located, along with the terminal building, and some services are provided on the south as well. As Doug mentioned in the introduction, we did prepare a forecast of aviation demand. It was approved by the FAA September of 2013. And for a general aviation airport such as this one, it's basically two metrics that we're looking at: base aircraft and operations, which is either a takeoff or a landing. When we did the forecast analysis, there were approximately 72 based aircraft on the airport. Today, we're still right about that number, and over the next 20 years, we're anticipating it growing to potentially 90 based aircraft. The operations in 2014 actually were about 12,000 operations annually, and we're projecting that to approximately double by the year 2035. Some of the facility requirements identified, just general maintenance of the airfield, rehabilitating pavements, strengthening pavements, providing some runway shoulders, providing some additional airfield signage to help pilots know where they are out on the airport, and complying with FAA airport design standards to the extent that we can in this facility. Some conclusions we reached: the runway length and location do not need to move. Again, complying with FAA design standards to the extent that we can, accommodating a minimum of 90 based aircraft based on the forecast, and plan for as many as we can fit up to the city resolution passed in 1977 of 250 based aircraft. Providing a dedicated fixed base operator area, providing an upgraded terminal facility, including a number of amenities, and providing a non-aviation use area. As I mentioned, we prepared several alternatives, and through a process of refining, we selected one. What's displayed on the slide here are the criteria that we used. How well does the airside, again, the runway and taxiway system, meet the applicable airport design standards? Rough order magnitude of cost to make the improvements, a qualitative review of the environmental impact of the suggested improvements, community impact: are we relocating roads, moving the runway and impacting new communities, and also input from the Technical Advisory Committee. With that, we developed the recommended airside alternative shown on the screen here. Some of the key points are keeping the runway length and location where it is, moving the taxiway a little further south to provide the required runway taxiway separation. Currently, it does not meet FAA design standards. On the west end, there is a piece of taxiway pavement that is in line with the runway. Again, that is not standard, and therefore we recommend closing it and converting it to a blast pad. Relocating the service road, on Airport Service Road, on the easterly end, which is also residing within a safety area of concern, and then relocating Eddie Jones Road, which is also within some safety areas. For the land side, this would be the hangars, the terminal building, also apron areas. We did a similar process, some similar criteria, whether or not we meet forecasted demand, again, cost, and again, environmental. Flexibility: how well does the alternative provide up to the maximum limit of based aircraft, and again, comments and recommendations from the Technical Advisory Committee. So this is the recommended concept, and both of these concepts are reflected on the airport layout plan, which I'll show in a moment. Some key features here: a significantly larger terminal building than what's there today, a two-story building totaling 10,000 square feet with the amenities that were listed previously. Relocating the service road on the easterly side, and that will also help provide access for on-airport users from one side of the field to the other. Developing a full parallel taxiway on the north side, and that's to help provide safety and operations. Consolidating future fixed base operator development on the north side, and also additional based aircraft facilities on the north side of the field. I do want to point out that this concept actually provides more facilities than the 90 based aircraft that are forecasted. We actually have facilities for about 120 based aircraft. So this is in your packets, and probably more legible in your packets. This is the airport layout plan. This is what will be submitted to the FAA. It shows all the development and the two recommended slides mentioned or showed previously. It's required by the FAA. been used by the FAA to program grants for the airport. In order for a grant to be eligible, or excuse me, a project to be eligible, it must be on the airport layout plan, and it provides a variety of data tables describing attributes of the airport. So I just want to walk through and show where these particular items are. The wash rack was a facility mentioned during the course of the study that's shown on the north side of the airport. Additional parking was mentioned through the course of the project. We're showing two areas of parking, one on the north side to support the north side development, and also expanding the parking area that's existing on the south side. Incorporating a public viewing area, an area designated for non-aviation uses. Increasing safety, complying with FAA design standards on the easterly end with the service road, the westerly end with the taxiway that's in line with the runway, and also some improvements to the taxiway system itself. Again, maintaining the runway length that's there today, 2,700 feet. Providing a facility to store airport maintenance equipment, the terminal building and the associated amenities, and also development of the north side, 14.7 acres. So where do we go from here? As Doug mentioned, the motion is, or the recommended step is for council to authorize submission of this airport layout plan to the FAA for formal review, FAA and Caltrans for formal review and approval. As part of that process, they will do a review of it. They will provide some feedback. We will address that feedback, and then we'll prepare a final document which they would then approve. And usually they're just picking on little things with the data tables and meeting their checklist requirements. There won't be any changes to the actual development. And then after we receive that information, preparing a final report, the final master plan report, based on updating the draft final report and incorporating that approved airport layout plan. And then from there, preparing the necessary environmental documentation and then presenting to City Council for adoption. And the last two steps are beyond the scope of the master plan project itself. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I have none. Have a seat at the sidebar, and we do have public.
At this time, Diane Strader may come forward.
Hi, Diane.
Diane Strader, and I live in the east side, and as you know, I have never been anti-airport. I have always said I want an airport that can be the gem of Oceanside. I've also said that I would like to have an airport that knows how to fly friendly. Unfortunately, that is not always true of every pilot that has flown in and out of that airport. There are two things, and I haven't seen the final plans, and I couldn't read it from back there, but there's one area on the north side that has designated the parachute jump area rather than my recommendation is rather than designate that area as a single-use area, that it should go down as a multi-use area in which parachute jumping is a part of that, the landing for the parachutists. The second and biggest concern I have is a proposal for permanent Jet A fuel storage. At the present time, we have a truck there that is not a permanent situation. If we bring in Jet A fuel, then there's a greater chance for turbo engines to be able to be a part of that airport. Turbo engines are very noisy, very loud, and if they don't want to fly friendly, it is going to interrupt all the neighborhoods around that airport. They fly, most airplanes, if you take a look at the reading, fly Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. That's the same time that most of the neighbors would like to have parties for families, barbecues, picnics in their backyard. And if you start having turbo engines flying over, you literally interrupt the family side of Oceanside and all around the neighborhood areas. So if it's there for Jet A, permanent storage for Jet A fuel, I'd like you to consider that not being okay, and then changing that one little area from a parachute jumping landing space exclusively to a multi-use. I want to just thank you for the council giving me the time and opportunity to speak to you. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. That's because I did not get notification of the last airport meeting that they had. It's not like that. My email hasn't been written every time that I have gone to the previous ones, and it's not because people at APV does not know my email address, my phone number, my name, my address. So I'm not sure why I didn't get notification of that. So I may not be as up to date as I should be, and I apologize for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, any issues for her concerns? I realize this is for the FAA and not the master plan, but take note.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council.
Her two concerns.
Her two concerns, the area designated parachute landing is designated as such because there's an existing use. If they leave, it can always be used for something other than parachute landing. That's governed by the agreement between APV and Tsunami Skydivers. As for Jet A fuel, it's feasible that we should put something in there permanent rather than have a truck running around the airport. It is currently used by Tsunami. It's also used by Reach helicopters, so it makes sense to have a permanent facility there if you're going to try and expand the airport in the future.
Thank you.
No further public on this item.
Mr. Kern first. Yeah, Mr. Kern.
Yeah. Okay. Doug, I just want to kind of reiterate the question. I understand that the contractor has that landing space available for his jumpers, but is that dedicated or designated? It's designated.
Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor Lowry, it's designated, not dedicated.
Okay. So the land is for that purpose, but if they're not using it, is it available for other uses on a schedule, or is it just they're the only user?
Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor Lowry, yes, it can be used for other uses if they're not using it.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to follow up, because I was going to ask basically that same question. We do not have to file an amended ALP if the skydivers go away, because we have this on the ALP of landing.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Kern, we do not have to file an
Okay,
ALP.
yeah, so if that happens. There was a question, in full disclosure, Doug and I went up to FAA and talked to them about this last week. The displaced threshold, that came up. Does that 2,700 feet is only if you're flying out to the west, right? But if you're flying out to the east, the downwind takeoff, since it has this displaced threshold, it's not really counted as a 2,700-foot runway.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Kern, I'm going to have to defer that to our expert, Andrew Scanlon.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Kern, there actually is not a displaced threshold at the airport today. That portion of pavement on the westerly end is technically taxiway pavement.
Could you put up this slide that shows the picture on your, yeah. So I'm talking about the shoveling right here. Is that part of the 2,700 feet, or is that part of, what is that? You say that's the blast area, so.
That is.
My concern is about, because of, we get, I probably should speak to the speaker, because we get cloud cover, obviously, that comes in over the coast, that some pilots feel more secure by doing a no, that's fine, I just wanted to point out what that was, a downwind takeoff. So, which means they have to roll further anyway, because they're going downwind, but it does avoid the coastal fog. So I just wanted to see what that measurement was.
The 2,700 feet is from this blue bar here to this blue bar over here. This pavement on the westerly end is presently taxiway. It was at one time runway pavement. There are safety areas beyond the end of the runway, and somewhere between around 1999 and 2002, the runway was reduced in length to enable those safety areas to be present.
Okay, because that was one thing we learned about the color of the arrows means something. So to do that, tell me what that one. I'm not going to go up again, but the idea that the non-aviation use area. What could be any non-aviation use? Could that be a commercial use? What is that?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Cornelius, yes, it can be.
Okay, all right. All right, I'm fine. I'm going to move staff's recommendation to do this. And what I've learned, I learned more about airports than I ever wanted to know, I think, in the last couple of weeks at our trip to the FAA. The FAA doesn't really require a master plan. They require this, the ALP. Now, if we want to get money and funding, we need a master plan to submit, but we have to file this anyway. This is what the FAA requires. They want to update every 5 years, and I'm looking at Gordon. He was in that meeting too. I think it was every 5 or 6 years, something like. Yeah, preferably every 5 years. And having not had one since 1994, they weren't real friendly. So we have to get this done. So, okay.
Is that it, sir? That's it. Ms. Sanchez, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this does seem a little different in that the airport layout plan is more of a conceptual plan since the studies haven't been done yet. But you need to do that in order to get the funding to be able to do the EIR program. So during the course of the EIR, things may change on this, right?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Sanchez, they possibly can, yes.
Yeah. And I had the same concerns about having one area specifically built for one user. So I think that you answered the question that it's for safety purposes, but that if it were to change, say the skydiver program was going to would leave, then we wouldn't have to. I mean, internally we'd find other uses for it, but we wouldn't have to file anything with the FAA. Is that correct?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Sanchez, that's my understanding.
Okay. And the total cost to the city as the agency who is going to be going through and applying for the funding, total cost is going to be something like $28,000 in the end? City residents?
Honorable Mayor,
as a sponsor,
Councilmember Sanchez, the sponsor share of any grant is 10%, of which 5% or half can be recouped through the state as a matching loan or a matching grant. So if it is a $280,000 endeavor, we would be responsible for $28,000, of which 14 we can try and get back from the state.
Right, and it's the EIR and the EIS, right, the federal.
Yes, it's grants both. We're going to have to apply for both.
Both.
Satisfy both environmental requirements.
Right, so is the total cost to the city $28,700 for, what is it, $287,000 for the cost of CEQA and $172,500 for, for the NEPA, and $172,500 is for the CEQA, right?
I believe it's broken out in two amounts, correct?
Yeah. And the 10% only relates to the, so it would actually be $28,700 plus the $17,250 as the 10%?
The $287,000 is the federal NEPA, of which the 10% applies to that. The $172,000 can be is a grant acquired to the state, and they don't have that with sponsor share requirement.
They don't have that. Okay,
correct.
Great. And I guess the final question that I have is with respect to the layout of the north side, because I think that is what everyone in the neighboring community was most concerned because it's closest to their neighborhood. So could you explain how, because there's like 20 hangars that are envisioned there for the north side, and then, of course, some tie-downs. How would the taxiing actually happen on, how would it get onto the runway?
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Sanchez, to develop the north side, there's a recommendation to put in a north side taxiway, so the planes have to come down north side taxiway to get to the end runway to take off, rather than crossing the runway. So there's a safety element in that. And
Right.
before anything can get developed on the north side, the city recognizes there is a Citizens for a Better Oceanside
Right.
that has to look at those documents prior to any development moving forward on those. On
Right,
that
and I believe
side.
they are also to be, participate in the EIR process.
Yes, they are, correct.
And the NEPA, I guess.
NEPA as well.
Yeah. Okay. Again, it just seems really odd to have the conceptual first and then and then study it afterwards, but it is what it is. So, in order to get the funding anyway. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. We had a motion, haven't we? We had a motion.
There's a
Yeah,
motion and
thank you. I'll
second,
make
yes.
sure I lost myself in there. With that, go ahead and vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
I'm going to have a recess now until 6 o'clock for a second half of the council meeting and get some things set up. Thank you very much. Recess. Debbie. Debbie. Okay, about 5. He said hold off for about 5. I was going to tell you the other thing. We probably should take number 2 first. Too big a crowd. This crowd. Celebration. Well, I think that'll give us 5 minutes. 5-minute delay with KOCT. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 5-minute delay because of KOCT technicalities. It will be 5 minutes. Thank you. our cameras are stuck in position. We were trying to fix it. It's not. The one camera that faces down the council chambers is working. When I bring some people up, you'll still be on camera. I want that to be done. So we'll start right now. We have to do a couple of things first, house cleaning. And Debbie, will you start it off?
Please stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation will be delivered by City Clerk Zach Beck, who is also youth pastor for the Fields Church.
Please bow your heads. Father, we come before you to say thank you. Thank you for the privilege, the blessing, the honor it is to reside here in the city of Oceanside. We come together tonight as a diverse community, a community of different backgrounds, different beliefs, different presence, and different futures, yet one common goal, and that is the betterment of the city. We come together tonight to seek your guidance, wisdom, and discernment over the deliberations that transpire this evening, and we ask that you grant your peace to Councilmember Feller, Councilmember Kern, Councilmember Sanchez, Deputy Mayor Lowry, and Mayor Wood as they go through the items that we will be discussing this evening. And we lift up all these in your heavenly name. Amen.
Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Soroya Barahona, 4th grade student at South Oceanside Elementary School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
You may be seated. Thank you. Let's hear for this young lady.
Okay, we're going to change the order just a little bit here. Next, we are going to have the Certificate of Appreciation for Dina Davis, 49-year baton twirling instructor for the Parks and Recreation Department. Would Dina please come forward, along with Eileen Turk, manager of Parks and Recreation, and any of Dina's young students that she taught, would they please come up to be recognized with her?
Ladies and gentlemen, anybody who wants to come up with this young lady, do it. The other people are taking pictures. You can move anywhere you want and get photos if you wish, okay? Thank you.
I'd like to read the Certificate of Appreciation honoring Dina David. On behalf of the Oceanside City Council, I, Mayor Jim Wood, want to thank you for the 49 years of dedicated service you have provided to the City of Oceanside Parks and Recreation Department as a baton twirling instructor. You have taught your students good sportsmanship and etiquette and helped those who are less fortunate to purchase costumes for competitions, parades, and other events. Your skilled instruction has transformed your protégés into state and national champions on numerous occasions. Kudos to you for all that you have given to our community. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Issued this 19th day of August, 2015.
Okay. Before we let Dina speak, first of all, I want to thank Marty Ferris, the previous Park and Recreation Director, for hiring Dina David many moons ago.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the best ideas I ever had.
Thank you. This afternoon, I received an email that I think speaks for almost everybody in the baton twirling program over the nearly 50 years. And it says, "Dear Dina David and council members, I'm truly sad that I cannot say these words in person to the wonderful, amazing, and truly magnificent Dina David. I was born and raised in Oceanside. My siblings and I grew up at John Landis Park and attended after-school programs, summer camp, and baton twirling. In 1990, when I was 5 years old, I attended my first baton practice with Dina David and stopped when I was 16 years old. Baton taught me discipline, built my confidence, and gave me a reason to dream big. Dina knew that my family had financial constraints and that we could not afford baton lessons, costumes, or competitions. She allowed me to assist her with teaching and made it possible for me to take lessons, even though we couldn't afford it. I remember winning my first title as Miss Twirlette in 1996, and how proud Dina was for me. She never stopped believing in me and provided me and many other young girls with a safe place to build our confidence and strength. Because of baton and Dina David, I went on to college, graduated with my master's in social work, and still dreamed big. Most importantly, Dina loved me and taught me to love myself. Today I'm still dancing. I teach dance fitness class and work as a social worker in Seattle, Washington. Dina, there are no words to describe the magnitude of what your service has done for me in the city of Oceanside. You're truly an angel and have continued to change lives. Thank you for believing in me and all the other girls in Oceanside. Love, Jovan Dempster, and the whole Dempster family."
Thank you all for coming. Some of you I haven't seen in 40, 45 years. And this will be my last season, so I will make the 50-year mark. It's been an honor and a privilege to teach for the city. You know, baton twirling is an American art form, originated in our country, just as jazz music did. Through the years, I probably taught thousands of girls, and many of them, I'm proud to say, were military dependents. And we twirled and marched to Marine Corps band music by John Philip Sousa. Many of the girls became state or national champions. But the important thing to me was to make the program economical so that it was accessible to every child who wanted to do it. It wasn't really, as Jovan Dempster so eloquently put it, it wasn't really about learning to twirl a steel stick. It was about building confidence and poise, gaining control of your nerves through competition, teamwork, sportsmanship. We gave out sportsmanship awards, kindness, how to set goals and achieve them, and building character. These are life skills that last a lifetime. And some of the people that I see here tonight, Louise McIntyre, daughter Harriet, who is living in Amsterdam now, was the first student to register the very first year in 1966. Louise in the red made it today. Actually, it was 1966. And James Wilson, his family was in baton for years, and he was a volunteer, and for at least 45 of the 50 years, he took pictures of the girls. James Wilson. And the administrator from the library, she took baton when she was 4 years old. Sherry Noel, she was Sherry Kennedy then. And I see Gail Morris. Her and her sister and cousins were in baton for years. Yvette Davis. I also see out there Renee Morrison's mother. My goodness, Reina Castro. A lot of these girls won awards. They watched when somebody twirled the fire baton, yes. And Cheryl Knapp has been teaching just as many years, and she teaches in Poway, and we get together and organize the contest together, Cheryl. And this last season that I'm doing it, Helena Clavin will take the class over for me. She's been in the baton since she was 5. She'll turn 18